tape out of our camera.
No, I want the tape out of this camera. This is private property.
King's stepson Carl also tried to intervene.
I ain't gonna be as nice as my father. I'll beat your fucking ass.
Hotel security was called, and the argument quickly dissipated. King had successfully avoided answering any more of my questions, and I was glad to get out of there. Right after my press credentials were yanked, I watched Mike Tyson being led away by a sea of bodyguards. Mike Tyson's relationship with Don King has all the makings of an American tragedy. Tyson and I both grew up in the Bedford-Stuyvesant section of Brooklyn. I met him when he was 14 years old through my friend, former light heavyweight champion, Jose Torres.
I don't know, he's like when he was in jail. You know, he is now like in jail with all this bunch of people, you know, surrounding him and overprotecting him on behalf of Don King.
Mike Tyson was sent to the Tryon Youth Correctional Facility in upstate New York after growing up as a mugger and predator on the streets of Brooklyn. He was 13 years old. Bobby Stewart, a counselor at the reformatory and former professional boxer, first saw Tyson in 1979.
He had acted out in some way, and he was being escorted to the field by two of the bigger staff on campus. And reports were that he was be very careful of, very violent.
Tyson told Stewart that he wanted to learn how to box. After teaching him the basics, Stewart then brought Tyson to a gym above the police station in Catskill, New York, to meet Customato.
That's it. See, ain't no way he's gonna hit you then, right? And remember, it's always good to throw the punch where you could hit him and he can't hit you. That's what the science of boxing is all about. Remember, from the side...
D'Amato had developed many boxers, including world champions Floyd Patterson and Jose Torres. He spotted Tyson's potential immediately.
He said, barring outside distractions, if that kid is able to, you know, concentrate his efforts on becoming a fighter, and if he wants it, importantly, he said that's a heavyweight champion of the world.
The joy of finding one last great fighter may have prolonged D'Amato's life. And D'Amato saved Tyson from returning to a life of crime. He legally adopted him. Then in 1985, Cus D'Amato died. Jim Jacobs, one of Tyson's co-managers, took D'Amato's place as Tyson's surrogate father. One year later, Tyson fulfilled D'Amato's prediction.
That was a right to the body and an uppercut to the head, and Berbick is down.
In a devastating second-round knockout, Mike Tyson, age 20, became the youngest heavyweight champion in boxing history.
It's over. That's all, and we have a new era in boxing.
His managers, cornermen, and friends ran to congratulate him. Tyson kissed Jim Jacobs. But in March of 1988, Jacobs died, and Tyson lost his second father substitute. Before Jacobs was buried, Don King made his move, using black solidarity to seduce Tyson.
I mean, the perception of the public, blacks in particular, I spoke to them, they think they are proud that Don King is doing what used to be controlled by the white man, the promotional business, and that he's there because he's tough. You know, he doesn't take shit from anybody.
According to Torres, who was King's confidant at the time, King also used anti-Semitism to get Tyson to abandon his friends.
He said to me, you know, you have to understand, Jose, that Bill Caton, Shelley Finkel, the Jacobs, the Finkers, the Catons, Jews, they want to control the situation. You don't understand this. I know. I deal with these people.
He even got Tyson to abandon his surviving manager, Bill Caton.
King actually came here and said to me, sure, I've poisoned Mike's mind against you, You give me my 4-year exclusive emotional agreement, and I'll unpoison him.
By the fall of '88, Tyson's life was in chaos. He was estranged from Bill Caton, and King was still trying to muscle in. But things got worse when he separated from Robin Givens, whom he had married 7 months earlier. Steve Lott was Tyson's assistant trainer and close friend.
Robin had a tremendous influence negatively on Mike's character and emotion. And after she left, later in the year, Don found it very easy to jump in because that character that was so powerful before in Mike was in crumbles, was in shambles. And Mike was no match for Don at that time emotionally to battle his wit and his con.
King soon had complete control over Tyson's personal life and boxing career. Both have declined ever since.
Situation at the time, but
Rolling willingly just to try to get in the shot that will finish things in.
Oh, the uppercut.
What an uppercut by Douglas, and down goes Tyson.
In 1990, in a stunning upset, Tyson lost his title to Buster Douglas, a complete unknown.
It's over. It's over.
Mike Tyson has been knocked out.
Unbelievable.
And Tyson was indicted for rape 2 months ago.
back up.
Everything his adopted father, Cus D'Amato, had tried to prevent had come true under the tutelage of Don King.
If he went somewhere where the business was better and he became a greater fighter and more of a hero and respected and revered by everyone in sports and everyone on the planet, I'd say, Mike, I'd shake your hand because you did it. You did a great job. But that's not what happened. I'm jealous that they have my friend, and they destroyed the greatest fighter I've ever seen.
I don't know what to say. I want the best for Mike. You know, if that's, I tend to believe history. If you look at the fighters Don King's been involved with, I see mostly suits. They're all suing him, it seems. I hope in Mike's case it's different, that things have changed. But if you go on past history, you know, he's going to be a loser in the long run.
If Mike Tyson fights again under Don King, it will add millions to King's empire. An empire which already includes a $5 million mansion in Ohio, condos in Los Angeles and Las Vegas, and 2 townhouses in New York. In 1988, he bragged that his company grossed more than $100 million a year. All this from being the most successful entrepreneur in boxing history, promoting over 200 championship fights.
Mr. King, will you tell us what your present residence is?
32 East 69th, New York, 10021.
The only irritants for King are the lawsuits. 6 world heavyweight champions and more than 20 fighters have taken King to court. King has been sued more than anyone in boxing history and has paid more than $2 million in settlements.
Why do so many fighters, his fighters, end up suing him?
Unfortunately, litigation is part of the sport of boxing. It is. I mean, that just comes sort of with the territory. Why do so many? He's visible. He's very visible. He is a lightning rod, not because of his hair, but because of his general demeanor and bombast. Boxing, you know, doesn't have a schedule, doesn't have a commissioner, doesn't have a series of teams. It's not a highly structured sport. Don works within the disstructure or the disorganization of the sport.
The possibility that boxing will ever be cleaned up is remote. State regulation is a joke. If Nevada ever did crack down, the action would simply shift to Atlantic City. And at the national level, there's no interest in regulation.